Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. I have a confession to make. I often shoplift kitchen utensils. It's a risk I'm willing to take. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at my top 10 one versus all games. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so we're taking a look at my top 10 one versus all games. These are games where you have one player versus all of the other players. There's a lot of great games that fit this mold. We're going to go through and look at my top 10, and I'll tell you what I think. Again, I have organized these according to which ones do I think are the most fun. So maybe some of you can already guess what number one is going to be, because I've mentioned it quite a bit on the channel over the years. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and get started. Now, I want to talk first of all about my honorable mentions. I have a few. First of all, Star Wars Imperial Assault. This is one of the very few campaign games I played the complete campaign, and they came out with the app after I finished that. When I played it, it was an all-on-one. Now you can play it totally cooperative. But Star Wars Imperial Assault was, fun game of kind of rebels battling the Empire. One player plays the Empire, commands of the various Imperial units, fighting the rebels. Fun game in the Star Wars universe. Spyfall, party game. Of course, you're trying to guess, the spy is trying to figure out where he is, and everybody else is trying to figure out who the spy is. So it's kind of a hidden, not really hidden traitor, but kind of hidden spy game. But it is an all-on-one game. That is Spyfall. And finally, one I actually just reviewed fairly recently. This is Batman Shadow of the Bat, which is, you can play it with a cooperative mode, but the competitive mode is one player plays the villains, and the other players play Batman and his friends, other heroes, who fight him. Fun Batman universe game. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at my top 10 games then that feature an all versus one mechanic. Number 10 is a game that originally came out in the 1980s that I played a couple times as a kid, and then it was re-released about 10 years ago. I think it was 2012. Kind of a light fantasy kind of war game, but this is Fortress America. I'm specifically here referring to the Fantasy Flight Edition game. I did a review on this about a year or so ago, but Fortress America is kind of a game that takes place in the future, not too distant future, where America is being invaded from the Europeans, from the Asians, and from the South and Central Americans. So three fronts are coming at the United States of America. And as they are all coming in, America has to defend itself. Again, it's a fun game, a fun all-on-one game where America, you've got different weapons. It's kind of like an Axis and Allies dice chucker, where you got infantry and you got hover tanks and you've got personnel carriers and partisans, helicopters, and they're all fighting each other, stealth bombers, and you're attacking and just trying to weather the storm as the United States, as the enemies are trying to capture different countries. Very fun, or cities rather. Very fun game. Really enjoyed Fortress America. That was from Fantasy Flight Games. That is my number 10. My number 9 is another Fantasy Flight game. This is a game that came out 2017, 2018, thereabouts. This is Whitehall Mystery. Now, this is a fairly light hidden movement game in which one player plays Jack the Ripper, and he is trying to get home after committing murders, and the police officers are trying to track him down. They're trying to locate him. It's kind of a step up from Scotland Yard, but it's fairly quick. It was actually kind of a scaled down version. I don't want to say dumbed down, but less complicated version of Letters of Whitechapel, which was a little more intense than this version, and plays a little bit quicker, but it's still very fun. One player is trying to elude the cops. The cops are trying to find Jack the Ripper. Very fun game. That was Whitehall Mystery. That is my number 9 from Fantasy Flight Games. My number 8 is a game that has elements of hidden movement in it, and bluffing and double bluffing, and it's got a great IP. This is Jaws. Jaws, of course, based on the film, and what's cool here about Jaws is it takes place in 2 acts. One player plays the shark, and the other players play the characters from the film who are trying to kill the shark. And in the first act, Jaws is going around the island, picking different places to attack the tourists. And the other players are trying to locate where he is, where he's going to come up. Now, depending on the number of swimmers and tourists that Jaws can kill, it's going to make him more powerful or less powerful in the next round. So you go to that next round, and then it's Jaws attacking the boat. And it's kind of the same thing. You don't know where Jaws is going to attack from, so the players on the boat, the defenders, are trying to figure that out. And again, they've got different cards they can play to try to figure it out and to wound Jaws. Another great all-on-one game, another great IP themed game. That's Jaws. I believe it was designed by Prospero Hall. That was released by Ravensburger. That is my number 8. My number 7 is a game that is a lot of fun. Again, I played the original edition 10 years ago. I played several iterations since. I've enjoyed them all to greater or lesser extent. But it's a game that does not start out as an all-on-one game. In fact, it's a game that starts out where everybody's working together, and then about halfway through the game, one player becomes a traitor. This is Betrayal at House on the Hill. Betrayal at House on the Hill is a fantastic game of haunted, exploring a haunted house, and then it becomes like a B movie. It becomes this B movie depending on what the haunt, because the haunt triggers, and then as the haunt triggers, you have all sorts of different B movie scenarios will happen. You could fight a vampire or a mummy or Frankenstein, or there could be zombies or evil twins of the characters. There's all sorts of different, like I say, monsters and scenarios that come out. And it's a game that, again, it's different. Just about every time you play it, it's very different. The original game had about 50 scenarios. There's an expansion with 50 scenarios. They just came out with the 3rd edition, which has got more stuff and different ideas. Really fun game. I think this is one of Zach's all-time favorite games. I wouldn't quite put it there, but I really do enjoy Betrayal on House of the Hill. That is my number 7, and that is from Avalon Hill. My number 6 is a game that came out... 2016, 2015, 2016, and this is Conan. Conan is a great game where several team players, they're taking on the different roles, the Conan and his friends, and then the villain, the one player is taking on the role of the villains, the various villains that attack Conan. And what's cool about this game is it's got a river where you place these tiles, the villain places these tiles, and they can spend energy here, and it's very cheaply, but if they have to move these guys, they can do it, but it costs them more. So there's some real tough decisions there. But Conan and the heroes, they too have to spend energy to do different actions, to run, to fight, and it's a very interesting system mechanically, but then you have this great Conan theme and artwork and kind of epic stories and epic battles. It's really a lot of fun and a very beautiful production. That is Conan, my number 6. I believe that was from Monolith. My number 5 is a game that I really enjoyed, and when I moved to Texas, I gave it away, and it's one I'm thinking maybe I should buy it again because I really liked it. And I'm saying, why did I give that one up? This is my number 5. This is Level 7 Omega Protocol. And Level 7 Omega Protocol, before Nemesis came out, I would say Level 7 Omega Protocol was Aliens without the IP. Now you got to say that about Nemesis. But in Level 7 Omega Protocol, essentially you're in this facility and there are aliens. And what's really cool about this is the players playing the humans, the heroes, they're souped up, they got weapons, and they can take pretty much as many actions as they want. But every time they take an action, they have to spend an adrenaline token. They don't return it to the supply. They give that adrenaline token to the person controlling the aliens. And that's essentially their fear. He feeds off their fear and adrenaline. So the more actions that the heroes take, the more actions that the alien player can take. And it's a brilliant give and take because there's so much you want to do as one of the heroes, but you know you're screwed if you do too much because you're just handing more options to your enemy. It's a great game of tough decisions and scary twists and great looking production. So that is Level 7 Omega Protocol. That is my number 5 from Privateer Press. My number 4 is Letters from Whitechapel. So I mentioned Whitehall Mystery earlier, And I really do like Whitehall Mystery quite a bit. But Letters from Whitechapel is more intense. It's a longer game, more options, and it's scarier. And I got to tell you, I don't think I've ever played any other game that made me feel like I was going to have a heart attack before. I play Letters from Whitechapel, and as I'm getting older, I'm kind of scared to play it again. But you play Letters from Whitechapel as Jack, and you are desperately running from the cops. You're trying to stay out of their way, because as soon as they find you, it's game over. But again, you got a lot of options. You got ways to misdirect. You've got special things you can do. But it's kind of an epic game of cat and mouse. It's a great game of misdirection, and it's a game that I love playing as Jack, even though it makes my heart pound and I sweat. But I also love playing it as the cops, because you're trying to work together to solve this mystery of where he is, where he's been, where he could possibly go, where his hideout is. I really, really, really enjoy Letters from Whitechapel. That was a Fantasy Flight game. That is my number 4. My number 3 game was kind of a controversial game because it was a big, big Kickstarter. And I went all in on it. And it was expensive. And the game came out, and the rulebook sucked. The rulebook was horrible. The game itself is amazing. If you can cut through the crap in the rulebook, if you can, because there's simplified rulebooks, on Board Game Geek, if you can get through all that, the game itself is amazing. And this is a riff on the Conan system. This is Batman Gotham City Chronicles. Now, in Batman Gotham City Chronicles, essentially how you play this game is one player is the villain, the Batman villain, and then the other players are Batman and the various heroes. But you've got that same river system where, again, you can pay to move some guys and it's not going to cost you very much, or you can wait until they get much higher up on the board and then it's going to cost you more. But sometimes you have to pay more because you need to move those guys. So it's a great system. And then Batman's got, not only has Batman got great stuff where he's moving around and with his energy, and Batman and his friends, they're spending energy to move, to attack, but they've also got a lot of really cool gadgets. There's different scenarios where you're rescuing hostages and defusing bombs and these sorts of things. So it's a really fun game. That's Batman Gotham City Chronicles, and that is my number 3. That is from Monolith. My number 2 is a game that I just played for the first time a few months ago. I played it a few times since, and it's just wowing me. I love it because it's got a great World War II theme. It's based on a video game. It's got a World War II theme, and it's got hidden movement. I'm talking about Sniper Elite. Sniper Elite's one of those games that has absolutely no right to be as good as it is, but it is so much fun. Essentially, you're a sniper. You're in a Nazi facility. 3 other players play the role of the guards. They're trying to track you down while you're moving around trying to sabotage stuff. You're moving to different locations, but then you can also shoot at the guards. You can take these sniper shots. You've got a bag filled with tokens. You go ahead, you reach in, you pull out the tokens, and you can see the tokens. You can see if they're accurate shots. You can see if they're misfires, if they make noise, and then if you draw as many shot tokens as the distance between the sniper and the target, you hit the guy. It's really smart, really clever. There's also other little kind of gadgets that he can equip himself with to help him out during the game. But again, another great hidden movement game. That is Sniper Elite. That is from Rebellion Unplugged, and that is my number 2. Okay, my number 1. And like I say, many of you probably know what this game is. This is Fury of Dracula. Fury of Dracula, I played it first by Fantasy Flight. It's been released since by WizKids, but this to me is my favorite all versus one game. Now, it is a hidden movement game like Sniper Elite, like Letters from Whitechapel. You're moving around. You are trying to avoid the hunters. Dracula's moving around. He's trying to avoid the hunters who are coming after him. But there's more than just avoiding them. Like in Letters from Whitechapel, if they find you, that's game over. Here, Dracula at certain times wants to reveal himself because he wants to attack the hunters. You actually get in combat here. And one of my favorite parts of this game is combat. Essentially, you are simultaneously playing cards. And you play both of these cards, and there's kind of a rock, paper, scissors effect with the cards. And, if Dracula plays, say fangs, and somebody else plays garlic, it's not going to go very well for Dracula. But you go back and forth. You try to inflict damage on each other. Meanwhile, Dracula is setting up traps around Europe. He's setting up these fledgling vampires that are going to mature, and if they become vampires, then he scores points. And you're trying to get trying to get Dracula before he scores enough points that he wins the game. Again, it's a game I like. I like playing Dracula because I like the cat and mouse. I like deciding when to attack and how to evade when I need to. But I really like playing the hunters because I love the negotiation between the hunters of, okay, I'll go here, you do this, I'll do this. Should we do this? Yeah, okay, here's our plan. I really like that negotiation among the hunters when you're hunting for Dracula. It's tremendous, tremendous fun. So that is Fury of Dracula. That is my number one. That is from WizKids. Well, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, thank you very much for joining us. I forgot to mention Shadows over Camelot. I wasn't on my list. I thought about it just as I was doing it. Shadows over Camelot, a great hidden traitor game set in an Arthurian court. You have to take a good action and a bad action on your turn, and every time you take a bad action, they all accuse you of being a traitor. It's so much fun. I love Shadows over Camelot. Days of Wonder, I would have put that on the list if I thought about it sooner. Don't know what I would kick off, but it'd be on the list. So anyway, that is another great game. But thank you so much for checking us out. Please let me know what you think about my choices. Do you like them? Do you not like them? Please let me know, if there's something you would put on there or things I should get rid of. I'm always happy to know what you guys think. So please leave a comment here on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, on our website, thediscriminatinggamer.com. Please follow us on social media. Please subscribe to this channel. Please check out my other channel, Cody Carlson, PhD. We talk about military history there, have a lot of fun. Please subscribe to that channel as well. Ladies and gentlemen, my father was a mime, but he never talked about it.
Please somebody help me on my feet again, and I don't know where I'm going, and I don't know where I've been. Please somebody help me on the solid ground. It's a long time, and I've been dying. Once a year I wind up in the band. God knows that I love to fight, but I don't ever win. It's a fine line to damnation, but God let me in.
Board game, eh? Yes, all right, but I will choose the board game.